Life is a gamble, I'm learning to dice it. You gon' get cut up however you slice it. Talk to the Lord and he told me that it's alright. I still walk in the dark, I'm a risk taker. See my brother go down over big faces. Lawyers hitting my phone over big cases. Gave my life to the dark, I was nocturnal. Mama said change, I was not turning. So full of trauma, it's not funny. It's some things that I done I cannot stomach. It's alright. Yeah, it's not accidental. Texas to Chi-Town, I hopped in that rental. Old Black to K-Town, I wrote instrumentals. I'm walking through blocks, but they clutching they pistols. Me and my lady was ducking in Memphis. Shootouts and murders, we pray through the trenches. They think I do this to sell my little tickets. They wasn't around when we went on them missions. Walking through prisons, I give them life even after the sentence. I don't want money, just pay me attention. Already love us, a like or a mention. I don't play games, I just play my position. Been in San Quentin, I walked the yard out in Sterling by Denver. Filled with the spirit, I'm praying with killers. I told them I know about a God who forgive them. I got the joy of the Lord in my system. I lost my cousin, but still got his memories. They took his life, but they can't take his spirit. I've been through too much to be worried about a critic. I know he love me in spite of my sin, and I'm not independent. I'm leaning on wisdom, I need intervention. I'm pleading the fifth, cause these demons be snitching like Jesus ain't with me. I'm blessed, I know it. Could've went left, I know it. I saw my brother, he laying there lifeless. Only God know where he going. Life is a gamble, I'm learning to dice it. You gon' get cut up however you slice it. Talk to the Lord and he told me that it's alright. I still walk in the dark, I'm a risk taker. See my brother go down over big faces. Lawyers hitting my phone over big cases. Gave my life to the dark, I was nocturnal. Mama said change, I was not turning. So full of trauma, it's not funny. It's some things that I done I cannot stomach. It's some things that I did that the devil said, booby, you cannot come back from it. I'm supposed to be feeling the hurt, that's what I deserve. Instead he came back for me. Yeah, my mama, she kept us in church, but it was too easy to end up with crack money. So I started to empty my Apple computer to rap while my cousin was Mac dumping. Got it jumping like you seen a rat running through the crib. He paid for my sin and was paying the bills. I wasn't signing no label when I kept on asking God to make me a deal. Can't be big-headed, the king gave his life for a price that I couldn't afford, you hear me? Come to my church on a Sunday, I'm setting up chairs and rapping up chords, you hear me? Keep me in your presence, don't let this fame get me and I barter my heart of a martyr. I want a dove of my brother, but it won't compare to me dipping little bro in that water.
We in there. We in there. Bird, what's up, man?
What's happening, bro?
Can you hear me good?
Oh yeah, man, we good. We live.
You see me on the ones and twos? You
Yeah,
see me
man.
on the ones and twos?
You trying to you over there fighting for your life too.
Man, listen. Left brain, right brain going crazy right now.
Don't worry, we'll handle some of that in the meeting next week.
Oh, for sure. Shout out to Soap. He got me. He got the situation right.
Yes, sir. Shout out to the homie. How you living, man?
I'm good, bro. I'm good, man. Just man, listen, just being like we had a meeting at church this afternoon and so I got home in time just enough to be able to get the setup going and get our show going, man. So it's been a busy day. That my hair looking a mess when we get done here. Wifey gonna be doing the hair, so just a full day rolling right into the work week. Man. But how was church, bro? How was church for you today?
Man, church was amazing, but we gotta focus on Love Center Church Orlando this weekend, man. I went to look at some footage from y'all prayer service and even from today's service, and seems like I didn't recognize the location y'all was at.
Fire. Hey, can you turn your volume up a little bit? I want to be able to, I think I want to be able to hear you a little bit more. I don't know if let me see something.
How about now? You hear me a little better now?
A little bit. We got two people watching. Can y'all tell us how the volume sound?
While we messing with that though, man, tell me how y'all enjoying the new digs. How did that come about? Everything, all of the things. You can start with Friday if you want.
Oh yeah, that's better. That was on my end, bro. I need to turn my headphones up.
That's all good. I'm finna say I'm loud in my headphones. I was just gonna keep on talking till it got right on your ear.
Yeah. So, yep, that was totally on me. So, yeah, man, no, bruh. So we moved into our new building on this past weekend. We had our inaugural night of prayer on Friday night, and it was amazing. The building that we were in our Orlando campus, we had been in that building for I think like 4 years, 5 years, and so we just got real accustomed to just that building, and like there's a certain flow, a certain rhythm that gets established once you are settled into a building. You just kind of know. It's so funny because today was the first day in a very long time where I had to like readjust like to the atmosphere and to like the building,
Right.
because you get so just kind of accustomed to just kind of what the vibe of a certain space is. And so Friday we had our inaugural night of prayer, which was amazing, man. Bishop Gary was out there. Um, some other saints that were there. We had a couple come in who really operated in like the gift of prophecy, that came in and did some praying and spoke over some people, which was amazing. Um, and it was just holy, bro. It was just holy, man. To be, it's something to feel like you're a part of God, kind of cultivating something new, you know. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. That was definitely my headphones, but I appreciate it. And so Friday was amazing, man. Just being there, and Pastor Jeremy, just kind of like anointing the building, walking around the building, and to know, like, it's a special kind of feeling to know, or at least to feel like, for myself, like just being a key member and a key player, with not only getting the building but like contributing to what is the fabric and culture of this new building per se.
Yeah.
It's really special, man. It's really special. And today we had our first service in the new building, and I'll share some of my thoughts on that. But it just, the whole weekend, man, it was just special from top to bottom, and it was really kind of a new experience for me in my faith walk, um, because I'm a part of building something,
Right.
for God, and that's a pretty amazing feeling, man. So yeah, 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 yeah. But
Yeah,
but
that's
how
definitely one
I
of the
can get into
exciting
service today,
things.
but how was service on your end though?
Man, it was powerful. As I'm sure you've heard on your end, there were some things that happened in the Salter family. Our bishop was in a car accident on Saturday.
I
Uh,
didn't see that until this morning on
yeah,
Facebook.
thankfully he walked away, no scratches, no bruises, just a little bit sore, but
Mm,
came in ready to praise the Lord. So,
mm.
of course,
So
the
he was
service
he
went
was there.
up. Yeah, he was there.
Okay.
He was there. He and his wife, his family's in town as well.
Mm,
I believe we had all four of his daughters with us. The two that are married, their husbands were there. So it was an amazing time for worship with the Salter family
yeah,
as God released some things in the house, man. It was real nice to be there today.
yeah, yeah.
I was outside last week grilling, so I was glad when they said unto me, "Let
come
us
come
go
come
in
inside.
to the house of the Lord. Go in." I know the Psalms say I'd rather be a doorkeeper. I want to make sure I'm keeping the door on the inside
Yeah, yeah.
'cause it's
They
hot
didn't
out
say
there.
nothing about a grill master. I'd rather be a grill master. No, a
Yeah,
doorkeeper. Yeah.
I got to work on my kitchen staff anointing. You know what I'm saying? Especially during the summer, we gotta get a couple more fans, a few more
Mhm.
bottles of water, a little bit of something out there, man. It was the adrenaline alone was keeping me going, but as soon as that grill stopped, I think the temperature went up another 30 degrees. So I missed my base last week. Got
Okay.
back on my base this week, and I was happy to be on that base on my stool for the
Mm-hmm.
entire service.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, bro, I love the grill. I ain't grilled
Yeah,
all summer. This sun is different than the sun that you and I grew up with, because with my boys, I remember like when I was they're 10 and 7. I used to be in the backyard playing with like remote control cars and jumping on trampolines. I didn't really start like hanging out at the basketball court all day until I was maybe like 13, 14, 15. But I
right.
was outside. I had been thinking to myself like during the summer, like, man, my boys are inside a lot. And I've been like forcing them to go outside and jump on a trampoline or play basketball. And I walked outside this week, And I took the trash out. I was like, yo, it is so hot out here. I was like, I need to stop forcing my boys to come
Y'all
out
boys, come
because
on back inside. Come on back
this
in here.
junk is ridiculous, man. Like this is a different sun. Is the like the global warming effect. Oh man. It's a different atmosphere out here. It's a completely different atmosphere than what we grew up with.
Man, look, I tell people all the time, I didn't know black people could sunburn until my
Oh
wife and
yeah.
I went to Puerto Rico. I think that Puerto Rican sun done came up a little north. So
Yeah.
something's happening out there.
The Puerto Rican
Because
sun
I think, yeah, the Puerto Rican
speaks
sun
Spanish
came
and
up.
everything. The sun over there speaks Spanish. The Puerto
Yeah, that
Rican
sun
sun
ain't
was
hot,
like
it's
El
fuego.
Caliente.
It's fuego.
Yeah, man. But no, just getting back to the service today, bro. Like, I'm gonna tell you, man. Like, for the first 15 minutes of the service, like, I had to like do a mental adjustment to just being in a new space. All of the feelings that came along with being in a new space. The acoustics are different. The way the flow of where people are walking and when is there. Like you just notice so many different things that don't hit your
Right.
radar typically. Like the flow of how people are walking and people coming in the door. You know, it's like, oh, I gotta get used to people coming in the door on this side of my vision now and not look every single time and like be distracted by somebody walking in because the entry to the sanctuary is in a different place. The acoustics in the building are different. To walk up on the stage is different. The stage is a little bit higher, so I'm looking up a little bit more. It's like all these little subtle things that you never really take into account. And like the first 15 minutes was like, wow. It's like, okay, there is a recalibration that has to take place just because of the new building. But I'll tell you this, and then we could jump on to these topics. Like I walked away with a couple of feelings. One, a deeper sense of respect and admiration for my pastor. One,
Mm.
because, and I'll say this, it probably wouldn't be a surprise to him. When he told us, the congregation, like he told us like 4 or 5 months ago, he's like, I'm making a statement of faith. I have heard from God. We're getting out of this building. And it's like, all right, Pastor, I'm with you. Let's do it. Yeah, we getting out of this building. And then as the time kept going, it was like, ain't no prospects. You know what I'm saying? Like that,
Right.
and because I'm a part of the leadership team, I'm a part of the conversations in terms of when we were prospecting, looking for a new space that was suitable, that gave us more square footage and kind of had the layout and the proximity that we were looking for. And so as time is going on and there is no building being identified, I didn't necessarily not have faith, but I was like, if we do stay in this building, I won't be crushed about it because it doesn't look like this is going to happen. And bro, when I tell you, almost without fail, like every single week he got up in that pulpit and was like, we are moving out of this building. And it was like, God hasn't showed us where, hasn't showed me where. I don't have all the details, but I know when the lease is up here, we are not renewing the lease here. And I believed him because he believed him and he believed God. And I was sitting in service today and I was looking as he was up there on that new stage preaching. And I looked around and I was like, wow, wow. God really did it because it really is it's a work of the Lord. But like God really did it real time in our fellowship and in
Right.
our community. Like the word was spoken, the word was revealed, it was spoken. And even though my faith wasn't on 1,000, I didn't have doubt. And to be there, it was like the culmination of all of it, bro. And it really is an elevation, man. I can't wait for you to come swing through and come see the building.
Oh yeah, I'm
The
crashing soon.
elevation, you can
I'm
feel
crashing soon.
promotion in the air, bro. Like you can feel like the Lord's like, I'm taking y'all up. You know what I'm saying, in the kingdom.
Awesome.
And that was just something that I've never experienced in my faith life and being a part of the church where it's like, yo, I'm ground level hearing the conversations and seeing how God is promoting just our community. Um, it's something, bro. It's something, man. I really walked away with a different kind of not only respect for my pastor, but really awe for like God. Like, man, God, you said it. You really did it. Like, and did
Right.
it in fairly short order considering the timeline. Because like when he first said it, it was like 6 months ago. Things ain't start to materialize until like the last 60 days. So it's like, man, God, you did this junk fast. So, man,
Awesome, bro.
just awesome, bro.
Yeah, man. It's like sometimes to see scripture come alive in your time is an amazing thing because as you gave the example of the feelings and the thoughts you were dealing with as he was proclaiming and speaking, it brought to my mind. I think it's in First Kings chapter 18.
Mm,
After Elijah wraps up the battle at Mount Carmel, he sends
mm-hmm,
the servant because he says he hears the sound of the abundance of rain, and he has
mm-hmm.
to keep sending the servant back and forth to look for a cloud. And it's like, hey, every month you get closer to that lease running up, you're like, hey, I'm sitting here looking for something that's supposed to be coming in the distance because we're supposed
Yeah,
to be moving up out of here.
yeah,
And I understand what it's like to feel that pressure building because it's like you want not only God to be true, but you want your man of God to be true as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
because you don't want to be wrong. I think that's one of the things I'm dealing with as God starts to reveal more things even to me in my prayer life or through dreams.
mm-hmm,
I told Bishop the other day, I was like, sometimes if there's any hesitation, I just don't want to be wrong,
yeah, yeah,
or I don't want to make God appear to be wrong about what I say.
yeah,
And the encouragement was just to trust God and say what He says, and that's
mm-hmm,
exactly what Pastor Jeremy did, and that's what Pastor Jeremy does every time he gets that microphone as well. So shout out to him.
yeah, man,
Shout out to the whole First family over there, and shout out to y'all, the leaders, and the whole Love Center Church Orlando family. I can't wait to come over and check out what it looks like, whether it's on a Bible study or on a Sunday. It'll probably be a
yeah.
Bible study. It's a little hard to sneak out on a Sunday sometimes.
Yeah, I
So
wouldn't imagine you'd be there on a Sunday, but yeah, we gonna welcome you all the time. You just a cousin. That's all. You a church cousin. You know, so
yes,
you always
sir.
got the invite. Man, you know what, man? My dang on iPad, man, my battery is draining a lot faster than I thought it would. Let's jump into these subjects real quick, in case my junk kind of cut out on us a little prematurely. So, man, big week, just kind of in the world. So much going on, man. This past week, man, a lot of things took place with the good brother Shannon Sharpe with his settlement, which was happened more than previously than this week, but with his settlement, then when his releasing of
Yeah.
his employment at ESPN, and then he getting hit with a lawsuit for defamation for another 20 m's. And so, man, I want us to just kind of talk through a little bit, just on our thoughts about the whole Shannon Sharp situation. This brother's had a whirlwind 2 weeks to go from
Several
selling a
months, bro.
lawsuit, huh?
Several months, bro.
Bruh, I mean several months, true. But these last 2 weeks it is kind of culminated to go from like settling a lawsuit for 50 M's to getting released from ESPN to getting hit with another defamation lawsuit, then to be at the Pro Football Hall of Fame to see your brother inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's a roller coaster of not only emotions, I would think, but just thoughts. But like I got thoughts, but I wanna kick it off to you, man, to like get, what are some of your takeaways just from like the situation, man, with him and how things have played out really publicly.
Certainly a case of a tale of two cities as it opens up. It was the best of times.
Mm,
It was the worst of times at the same time, man. I think one of the first things that pops out to me is this all started once the news broke that he was up for that $100 million contract
yeah,
potentially
yeah.
when he was about to go up in his career. And I go back and forth all the time with how you share good news as it's happening to you. Do you release it when it's a possibility? Do you release it once it's signed, sealed, and delivered? And I can't help but wonder if all of the outlets of the powers that be were a bit more quiet about what he was about to walk into, would we see the same attack per se, or the same accusations that came as a result of the announcement of his contract? You think you
Mm-hmm.
finna make 100? I want 50, and you really go after 50, hoping that you can get some large payout just to make it go away.
Yeah.
Because everybody, people to an extent are going to have the conversation about discipline and who you mess with. People are going to have the conversations about consent and things of that nature, and those conversations are valid
Mm-hmm.
uh, for sure. But I'm just thinking about some other things that haven't already been covered exhaustively. That, and one of the battles that I face morally when it comes to accusations of this nature, there's a scripture in Proverbs that says, "A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches."
Yeah.
So I always wonder, when it comes to situations where your name has been sullied, do you put in the full investment to clear your name, or do you take the the fiscally responsible per se route to try to get it away from you as fast as possible? Because I like what Jay-Z did when they tried to bring up something against him in connection with some of that Diddy stuff.
Yeah.
He said, "I ain't do." He had his lawyer. Hey, he ain't even said nothing. He said, "Here's my lawyer. I
Yeah.
ain't do it. You lying, and I'm suing you for saying I did it,
Right. Right.
because we're gonna make sure that my name is clear of anything having to do with this." Um, and I just wonder sometimes if we, in cases like this, when there's a lot of money on the table and your defense could cost a lot, I understand. Are we settling for the easiest way out rather than doing the investment possible to make sure that our name is clear? Because I wonder, had he been able to fully clear his name, what kind of deals he would be able to go back and get, rather than just having to settle for whatever it is he's going to have to settle for now as a result of his settlement and the sullying of his reputation that came as a resort of it.
I think even I think clearing of his name would never. I don't think that I don't think that would have been the issue that would have plagued him from being able to like take advantage of other like professional opportunities.
Mhm.
Because I think the judgment that was associated with the acts that he was accused of was the thing that was more damning for him than the actual deeds itself. You know what I'm saying? Because like they both were, consenting adults, so that you know, that is, if that's just on the premise that they both were consenting adults. Like if the R
Right.
word was thrown around, which it seems like the consensus was like okay, and some of the information that came out, like it wasn't necessarily. I mean, that's a different conversation about consent and if consent is something that is given time and time again based on some type of sexual interaction with someone, which is a different conversation altogether. But I think
Especially when you
even
into some of the other stuff.
yeah, I think if his quote unquote name had been clear, even from a legal perspective, that it still would have been stained forever because the judgment or the judgment of what his judgment is would have always been a thing that would have stuck with him just due to the age and kind of the nature of their relationship. I don't think it would have been possible to clear his name from what sullied it maybe the most, which was his judgment being called to the carpet, as opposed to the acts that were associated with the judgment. Um,
I will say that it's probably potential that on the professional sphere there could be some clearing, but
I
in the
mean,
court
yeah.
of public opinion, you're just gonna lose with some people once your name gets caught up in some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there have been some companies that, once you prove that, let's just say if it were a money grab, this was a money grab. She saw I was about to have a major payday. She came
Mm-hmm.
after me, and I proved it.
Mm-hmm.
They usually, and I ain't gonna say usually, in some cases we've seen where they'll, you might not get the full 100, but you can get a bit closer to where you were and work your way back.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Whereas, for some people, you'll always be the creepy old dude who's into younger women
Yeah.
and you'll
Yeah.
be judged for that to a certain extent. And there's some people you just aren't going to win back after certain things hit your jacket, which is why I'm trying to learn on the front end to protect my reputation as much as possible. I know, my past is my past, and I'm trying to keep as much of my past behind me as I can. And it is one of my greatest, or one of my most fervent prayers,
Mm-hmm.
as I ascend, is that God give me
Mm,
discipline to not repeat certain mistakes, or to do away with certain appetites, or to feed
100%.
them in the right way, so
100%.
that I don't end up on nobody's tabloid or in anybody's accusations.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really where I land with it, right? You use a lot of language that really resonates with me because, like, for me, and it's kind of, I think it correlates to like what you were saying in the beginning, right? Where it became public information, like you got $100 million, $100 million contract that you're getting ready to walk into, right?
Right.
And if we wanted to use church language, so to speak, or kind of, yeah, like the new level, new devil type of scenario, what I've also learned through personal experience is like, yo, new level, maybe not new disciplines. So either it's new level, new disciplines, or new level hardened disciplines.
Right.
Because what like on in my over the last 7 years of my life, as I've had professional achievements and just like accomplishments in my financial life, in my ability to expose myself to other things and places and people that add value to just my worldview and my mental palette and all these type of things. Like what a lesson that I learned, and I'm thankful that the Lord graced me to learn some lessons privately, as opposed to the Shannon Sharpe situation, where it's like, yo, if you're not prepared, you can lose yourself in opportunities. Like, so when I
Right.
think about when I really think about the Shannon Sharp stuff, it's not very like judgmental. It's kind of like a cautionary tale for men of like when you don't have your sexual appetites disciplined, um you can ruin yourself. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, they're typically, when men come into money, it gives you access, it gives you opportunity, it gives you license, it gives you power, it gives you influence, and all of those things. If your sexual disciplines or your sexual appetites aren't fervently disciplined, all of those things are now uh, tools that can ruin you, And so when I really think about the Shannon Sharp situation, to me, it's a reminder for men who are on the ascent to really, really be dialed in on like just making sure that those sexual appetites and desires don't rule over you. Because, bro, man, maybe Shannon Sharp is like the big picture in terms of like, I hate to use this language of like big L's that men take that is publicized, but like, man, everyday dudes, everyday preachers, everyday dudes take L's like this all the time. You get your man, you get your income tax money. You get your income tax money. Now you at the strip club. It's the same situation. You just not Shannon Sharp. It's
Getting a
no
little extra
camera, like it's no
service.
camera there. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, and I mean, bro, we gonna keep it. I mean, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like, I've been in that situation where it's like, yo,
Oh yeah,
where I have allowed
absolutely.
money, opportunity, access, power, influence to corrupt me through the means of my own sexual desires that were not disciplined, harnessed, and under control. And once again, thankfully, the Lord graced me to be able to, I think, learn these things when when the fallout of my decisions was less consequential at a particular time in my life. I'm
Right.
talking like early 30s. You know, I just celebrated a birthday. One thing that, and I'm 40 now, one thing that I have been rehearsing to myself, Bird, I cannot make the mistakes that I made in my 30s. It's
Bro,
too it's too much noise now. It's
one thing
too much noise now.
if I can interject a small preacher moment,
Go for it.
there's two things that cost more the higher you go, your fun and your folly.
Say that again.
There's two things that cost more the higher you go, your fun and your folly.
Mm.
The things you do for enjoyment tend to go up in cost the higher you go, because you start to have more expensive tastes. And even as much ratchet stuff as you might still like to do, when you get to a higher level, because you can afford to do more of it, it tends to cost you more. And then at the same time, your folly or your mistakes, those things cost you a lot more, not only in dollars, but can you imagine if you just tonight said, you know what, I had a good day at church, I'm going to turn up.
Right.
Your bounce back don't bounce back like it used
It
to.
don't bounce back like it used to.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
just talking about your body, right?
Yeah, your body.
Yeah, yeah,
It's your
yeah.
body. You know, you have one too many and Monday is gone. Monday's gone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And depending on how far you go, Tuesday's in jeopardy also.
Let me tell you something, bro. I There was a period in my life, like dead serious. Like there was a period in my life where I thought that I was above certain sins. Like dead serious. There was a period. I didn't like rehearse this to myself. Like I would never.
Oh yeah.
But there was a period in my life where there were certain things that were just incredulous to me. Like I would never do X, Y, and Z. What I realized, what I realized about myself, two things. One, that when the Bible say there is no good thing that dwells in his flesh, it is serious.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
two, I realized I wasn't really holy. I was broke. It was like there were some things that I didn't do or didn't have a desire, quote unquote, desire to do because I couldn't even afford to do it. And bro, the minute that I could afford certain sins, I did certain sins.
Oh yeah.
And so like when I reflect on the Shannon Sharpe situation, like I said, to me it's a cautionary tale to be like, yo, when you are when you are increasing monetarily or in influence as he has been through his podcast, through his platform on ESPN, like yo, there are like sexual sins, like that is the thing that ruins most men.
The wild thing is, bro, too, he's a Hall of Fame NFL player. He's been getting it thrown at him to an extent since 1992,
Mm-hmm.
literally and figuratively. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's you can't be that new to the game, and I understand. And first, I want to also make sure we make room for the fact that maybe he did go too far in something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So because we always want to respect the possibility that if he was guilty or whatever the case may be, that justice was to a degree served for the
Mm-hmm.
victim, as much as it can be, because our criminal justice system isn't always the best when it comes to litigating sexual assault and things of that
True.
nature.
True.
So we want to make sure we leave room for that in the conversation. But at the same time, how you land in that position is more the things that we're talking about, because
Mm-hmm.
even at his age and at his stage in life, the 20-year-old woman that you run into at the gym shouldn't be able to yank you like that. And I
Yeah.
understand, hey, sometimes if we keep it a buck, it's a 20-year-old that might catch your eye. But had he had the proper relationships in place, i.e., marriage,
Yeah.
a good marriage, I'll say,
Yeah.
because marriage don't fix everything, but having the
Mm-hmm.
right partner will keep you from making a lot of the wrong mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
If you had, and you have to be honest. I know that everybody doesn't get married, everybody doesn't find the right person, but for where he is and where he's been, and for the length of time that he's been there, he's had to have met
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
could have foot that bill as far as being a life partner somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? You know, we're both two happily married men.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I got married relatively early. I would have got married even earlier, you know, had I had the finances ready at the time that I knew I was ready to bend that knee. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I find it hard to believe that you haven't come across anybody in all those years of living and thriving
Yeah.
that you found worthy of sharing a life with. And I understand it's a little bit harder for those at the top once you get into that tax bracket where you worried about what this person will take if it doesn't work out and things of that
Right.
nature. So I still make room, you know, for his humanity. But there are just certain things that are protections more than we think they are when you
Yeah.
reach a certain age, stage, and everything else.
So and so this is purely speculative, because obviously I don't know the man, but
Right.
what I also think is at play here to some degree is when you come from nothing, right?
Yeah.
And you coming from nothing shapes your own sense of self-worth or value or attractiveness, that when you get put in a position through your own hard work and discipline in your professional space, and then you finally have like the trinkets and all that comes along with that discipline and hard work and sacrifice and all that. If that thing in you, in terms of your own sense of self-worth and value and all of that, isn't healed, like you look to other people and things and places to feel that.
Right.
I remember listening to a Molly Music interview like years ago. This had to be like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe, yeah, about 5 or 6 years ago. And he said something that just stuck with me. Where he was like, when he was going like through his earlier stages of his career, he said like, "Yo, if you don't know who you are, you're going to end up in somebody's bed." Like just kind of,
Uh,
because when you reach a certain place and there is something in you that isn't all the way healed, but you have access to all of these placebos via sexual encounters with women, via status and accolades, via you fill in the blank. There's so many things that we can kind of pour into that hole, whether it's drugs and excessive partying, whatever the case may be, validation from people.
right.
What I have learned is that I had to address kind of like little boy hurts inside of me, so that I'm not looking for that in women, and so that
Right.
I'm not looking for that even in status, even past or whatever. Like, so that I'm not looking for that in other places that could harm me, because those aren't the wells that I'm supposed to be drinking from to find some type of satisfaction in my soul about me, you know.
Right.
And it just seems that like that arena of, excuse me, that arena of like sexual desires is like a main coliseum where hurts from men that are like hidden deep in our heart and our soul, like the sexual desire arena is normally the coliseum where those things get exposed. And so it can it I think it would maybe be a little short-sighted just to chalk it up to like, man, dude just want to get off, and it's just like a young girl, he just want to get off.
Right.
I mean, it could be that. It also could be like, man, you know what, that young girl is making him feel a particular way that he never felt all his life, and it is feeding his identity in a way. And now this ain't even about, now we're not even talking young girl, old girl. Now we're talking about, yo, what's going on in the heart of this person that is making them seek out something that is clearly imbalanced, clearly unhealthy, clearly detrimental, and then clearly cost you $50 million. Like, this is deeper than you just want to get off. And then once again, speculative, but me reading into it a little bit, and just my own personal experiences, kind of with my challenges with my own sexual sin and my own sexual disciplines over the years, it wasn't just because, yo, you're just lustful. Like, no, I had to really address
Right.
like rejection issues in me that stemmed from mama and daddy, and low self-worth issues. And so it didn't matter how people saw me. If I didn't see me a certain way, anything that kind of came along and scratched that itch, it did that for me. And the more money I made, the more it just gave me more access and opportunity for that itch to be scratched in an unhealthy, maybe ungodly way.
Right, man. There's a lot when you go back and read the story of Samson that you'll find that long before he ends up in Delilah's lap, there were some unhealed, uncured,
Mm,
unaddressed appetites and tendencies. And it had some real triggers to them.
mm-hmm,
You know what I mean? You finally find the right, what you think is the right woman. And then, due to the pettiness of war and conquest, you end up finding her killed.
mm-hmm,
And then, in the midst of trying to ease that wound, you find yourself in positions that you know you can get out of until you end up in the one that you can't. And there's so many things that we learn from him that I started to learn as a young man to try and keep me, from ending up tied up somewhere with my strength pulled and my quote unquote anointing stripped
mm-hmm.
because I mismanaged the strength that I had just
Yeah.
to and the grace that we have. There's a thing that I arrived at. When we talk about grace, God's been gracious and merciful to us throughout the years as young men.
Mm-hmm,
But some of the grace that I've used has just been cheap grace. Grace that gets you out of situations is cheap.
mm-hmm,
It's expensive in how it was paid for, but there's a level of grace that God wants to bestow on us that goes much farther than sin excusal
mm-hmm,
or appetite adjustment. God wants to grace us with abilities to do positive things for the kingdom, to do exceeding abundantly above all we can ask, think, or imagine. There's a grace that exceeds so far beyond that it's like, hey, I'm tired of just using my grace to get out of things, or as Samson would say, to shake myself once again to get
mm-hmm,
out of here. And you
mm-hmm.
want to make sure that you experience the type of things to where you wake up and say, hey, you know what? I don't want to get caught here. And
Yep.
I hope for a lot of young men and older men who are watching that we're now starting to learn, hey, there's some situations we got to get out of
Yeah.
and walk away from before we end up figuratively Samson or Shannon.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna tell you, bro. Like this area, once I really began to confront this area of my life in terms of my own personal purity, my own personal private purity. I'm talking about what I'm watching on my screen. I'm talking about I'm not going to no strip clubs. I'm talking about I'm not entertaining conversations with women that could be detrimental to my marriage. Once I started like really like, yo, I am dialing in on being holy and pure, not just publicly but privately. That's when my life began to take off. And I think it's to that point about grace where it's like, you know what, instead of the grace being used to to help you get over the condemnation of your sin, now this same grace is being used to help you negotiate a business deal in the boardroom.
Right.
Same grace. It's just now the
Same.
utility of it is in a different place because you don't have, like, I'm not going to waste it like constantly muddling with this area of my life. And bro, once I really started to see victory in my life personally, in this particular area, bro, that's when I really, like, my life began to take off, and I began to have like a different type of peace about me because there wasn't always like this internal conversation about, you know what you're doing, you know what you said, you know where you was at, what I'm saying. Like, there was just a freedom of conscience that freed my mind to be creative and ambitious and
Right.
dedicated, disciplined, and consistent, all those things. And so this is an area, man, that I think in our overly stimulated, overly sexualized society, that this is the challenge of the day for men.
Yeah,
This is the
man. I'll keep
challenge
it
of
a
the day
buck.
for men.
I'll keep it a buck. It gets tough some weeks because it's
Yeah.
something about the algorithm when you try to clean your act up every now and then you slip up and an ad gets you.
Yeah.
or that friend from high school
Bro,
that
retraining that
still does
algorithm
a
is a
certain way.
beast.
Yeah,
Retraining that algorithm, beastly. You click on one wrong picture. Oh, you like this? Here's 16 more.
yeah, you ain't even gotta like it. You just gotta stop scrolling long enough to digest it, and it starts to track how long you looked at it and be like, oh, okay, we got them.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
across all platforms. It takes a whole lot of discipline to be able to hit that not interested button that many times over and over and over again. I tell people, I admit I had to make a whole nother Instagram from the one I originally started with, because
Mm-hmm.
that first one couldn't be redeemed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
salvation is for everybody, but hey, that one had to die. That one just had to go. I made a whole one. That's why that one you see on the screen says better bird 24, because that worst bird was the
That's
other one.
okay. I get it. I get it. I get it now. And
Yeah,
Sherrod,
that one
we
was
got
horrible.
somebody, Sherrod, Joyce Sherrod.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
she's
the
in
homie
here.
Sherrod out in Cali, man. What's good,
Okay.
bro?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree, bro. Like, yeah, even if, even if, we kind of said it in the beginning, like, even if the our legal system found him not guilty, like that public perception of him, I don't know if he'll ever be able to get out from underneath that. That doesn't mean that he condemned to, like, no opportunities and like a life of poverty or nothing like that. But I think that, once again, this is a cautionary tale. I think for the public, will be associated with him.
Right.
This will be associated with him, bro. Um, I,
It's
I
kind of
was
like
I was
how
listening.
in the NBA, whenever when we see Dennis Schroeder, we think about that contract he blew.
Yeah, man, fumbling that bag. Yeah,
Woo,
is
woo.
this just not something you don't want this as a part of your brand? You don't want this lapse in judgment as a part of your brand. All right, so we done kind of talked about that enough. We got 12 more minutes. All right, man. Let's jump to what a lot of people have been talking about this week, which is the passing of what is past week, which was the passing of Hulk Hogan, or let me pull up his legal name here. Terry Bollea,
Hmm.
Bollea,
Yeah.
and just the conversations that's happening around his character, and I was watching Abby Phillips show, I think, on CNN, like her late night show. I be liking that show because they really be debating on there. And
Oh, yeah,
I
they
think
go in.
Jamel Hill was on there, and she was kind of, repudiating him and what he stood for in terms of just like his racist disposition and bigotry and whatnot. And you had people on the same panel who were advocates for just like his character and whatnot. But what's your take on this, on all this Hulk Hogan stuff? Because I definitely I'm a little conflicted about it. But what's your take on all of it?
I think if you don't want to know what somebody thinks about a person, you probably shouldn't ask whether they're dead or alive.
Hmm.
And in some cases, some people are in hot water because they honestly answer questions that they were asked. And I understand that in this ultra sensitive society, if you answer for real at times, you will catch some backlash. But sometimes, if you just want someone to be covered a certain way, you better pre-screen people and just put people on the camera who are going to say what you want to say.
Okay.
But don't ask me what I think and then be upset when I share it. With that being said, for me personally, of course, Hulk Hogan is a childhood wrestling figure that you grow up watching. Was never my favorite wrestler,
Right.
without knowing anything about his personal life at the time. Of course, we all at some level was an NWO fan at some point, but I was a Sting guy anyway. Now,
Okay.
hopefully, don't tell me nothing bad about Sting this week. Let me have a week off before you tell me something about Sting. But at the same time, he wasn't a person whose life I was overly personally invested in.
Mm,
So to hear the things that came out about him, even as they came out in earlier years, it didn't really move me that much.
okay.
And then when you talk about his passing, it's just like, oh wow. What was more shocking about his passing for me is, of course, just one of our old adages. as being people of color is that death always happens in threes. So when you see
Hmm.
Malcolm Jamal Warner go, and then you
Mm-hmm.
see, I
Was
believe it
was the
was,
rock star? Was it
yeah, the rock star,
Osborne?
yeah, Ozzy Osbourne. You see
Ozzy
Ozzy
Osborne.
Osbourne
Yeah.
go, and then you see that it's like, man, you just kind of. I was shocked. I was more shocked to see who it was
Mm-hmm.
than I was invested in talking about his life and legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I understand both sides of the argument or both sides of people's feelings, and I won't necessarily say which is right or wrong, but I will say I tend to lean more on the side of if I don't have certain nice things to say about people, I just won't say them at this point in life.
I got you.
Because if something were to happen to me, I would hope that my wife and children and family wouldn't have to deal with a community of people disparaging me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just believe in a certain level of grace, even for people with whom we disagree.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that's not a popular thing to say about somebody who said something so toxic, about people of color. He's gone now. He's going to deal with his judgment. I don't need to further write anything on his resume. Whichever way he's going, the decision has been made, and what's done is done. So I don't personally feel the need to either pile in on him or try to build him up. I just let what it is be what it is.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, I kind of land in a fairly similar space. I mean, there, because like even I read the link to the post that you sent me, and there is something to be said about like continuity of personhood, where it's like, yo, I know. So first of all, let me preface all this by saying I didn't watch wrestling at all growing up. If I'm
Oh wow!
actually, as a result of this, I'm surprised how many people, black people like from my generation, did watch wrestling. Bro, when I tell you I didn't watch wrestling at all, I didn't watch wrestling at. I don't have one single memory of me sitting down in front of a TV
Wow!
like, let's watch Hulk Hogan, or I only like I have vague like association with The Rock just because he crossed over. Other than that, bro, I have never sat down and watched wrestling a day in my life. So I don't have any experiences of how the character of Hulk Hogan shaped or influenced like my childhood in that world that they created through WWE or F whatever it is. And so I was at a buddy house last night and he had wrestling on. I'm like, man, we watching wrestling? I was like, what are we doing? But I ain't say nothing. It ain't my house, it ain't my TV, whatever. So so with that, I kind of come to this conversation with a little bit of indifference about the character of Hulk Hogan, because I'm like,
Right.
that character never meant anything to my childhood. I don't have any memories of it, fond or negative. With that said, I didn't know he was a racist. I didn't know that he had bigoted views and had said the N word and was tripping out about his daughter dating a black dude and all that type of stuff. What I what the needle that I'm threading with this is, one, I am a believer first. I am a child of God first. I am a child of the King first. That is my first and most prominent marker of identification as a living, breathing soul. Secondly, I'm a black man. And so for me, I think for Christians, particularly for Christians, I'm not saying for, if you're not a Christian, then what I'm getting ready to say doesn't necessarily apply to you. But for Christians who are black, if you have a bigger gripe with Hulk Hogan, the character, or Terry Bollea, the person, if you have a gripe with the person or let me separate the character because the character wasn't racist, maybe whatever. If you have a gripe with him as a person being racist and then he passes and dies, presumably in the state of unrepentant sin, and your gripe is with how his sin was fleshed out in his life more than the fact that he was presumably an unrepentant sinner that possibly is spending an eternity in hell, and your concern is more with what his bigoted views were than the state of his soul when he transitioned, I got a problem with that. Because to me, that is elevating skin and culture and race and ethnicity over what should be most important, which is our faith and all that should inform about how we see people and how we see their inconsistencies, their shortcomings, their flaws, and all of their mishaps, and that includes racism. Now, on the receiving end of racism, I'm not justifying it to be like, "Oh, you're just a sinner. It's okay. You're calling me the N word. You're just a sinner." Like, no, but sin, but race and racism, bigotry is birthed out of the flesh, which is an issue of sin. And so, if we understand that, to me, it doesn't mean that I forgive, or not necessarily forgive, but that I make space for racism to exist unchallenged and uncriticized. But it is to put it in the context of the bigger picture, where it's like, yo, whether you're a racist, a murderer, an adulterer, a fornicator, a liar, if you don't repent and turn to God, y'all all finna bust hell wide open. What we talking about? And so I can feel a personal grievance about the type of sin that your flesh is expressing, but I still have to like have that against the backdrop of like, yo, you're still a human being born in sin, and sin expresses itself in a variety of ways that are distasteful to other people, and ultimately all of it is distasteful and abhorrent to God. And so, particularly, like if you're a black Christian and you're like, "Yo, he gone, I don't care," I just like, your heart is wrong. I do care that he was a bigot and a racist, but I also care that if he was in a state of unrepentant sin, I care more about that, especially in the light of him passing, right. And so this made me kind of go think and go to my Bible, of course, and look at something. So this is Ezekiel 33:11. Ezekiel 33:11. What does it say? It says, let me get right to it. Ezekiel 33:11. It says, "Say to them, as I live, declares the Lord God, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his way and live." Turn back from your evil ways. So even God is like, yo, when evil people, wicked people, racist people, die, like he not like, "Oh yeah, your comeuppance has come." And if that's the way that any black Christians feel, I'm like, yo, you got to check your heart there. You got to check your heart there, because if Hulk Hogan repented on his deathbed, you will see that former racist and bigot in heaven. And so, how are you going to reconcile that? And so, I can make a separation between, to some degree, between like the character and the person, but ultimately, um, you know, obviously not a fan of racism and bigotry, but he's not here now. And is that going to be what I lead with? Is that going to be the prominent thing that resonates in my heart, that he was a racist and a bigot? I pray that in my heart, the thing that is most prominent is, man, I hope he repented from that. I hope he repented from that, and that he sought forgiveness, through Jesus, and was reconciled to God, and that he made it in, even if he was a racist and a bigot here on earth.
I have to sit with that one for a little bit, um, for a number of reasons. Due to the time, I'm not going to unpack all of them. We'll probably have a little chat offline.
We can do a part two.
Um, but I will say, you know what? I don't think I can say. I'll just say that's an interesting perspective. But I guess one thing I will say is that the ironic thing about the conversations about culture and ethnicity and race, um, it is only when something happens to people of color,
Mm-hmm.
or crimes are committed against people of color, or injustice is committed against people of color, or when people of color find happiness and pride in who God's made them, that race and ethnicity seem to be posed as an issue.
Mm.
when part of the reason that our race and ethnicity exist in the space that they do, in the spaces that they do, is because of the attitudes that we were approached with and had to bounce back from as a result of things like white supremacy
Yeah.
and colonialism. For example, the black church. There wouldn't be a black church had we
Yeah.
not been drug off our knees praying at the St. George's Methodist Church in the
Mm-hmm.
1800s. We
Mm-hmm.
tried
Mm-hmm.
to worship together with people of the dominant culture of that time. As a result, when we seen that we can't even pray or worship openly here, we went and created the spaces for ourselves. And then once we created that space, 200 years later, people get to spin the block and vilify us for having our own space when the only reason the space exists was because we
It was
weren't welcome in
created.
the spaces that were there.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I
So,
get that.
so
I
it's
get
a
that.
loaded conversation. That's why I don't necessarily vilify the person that finds pride, not the negative sense of pride, but being okay with who God made them. Um,
And so and I'll say this, and then I'm gonna pitch it to you for the last word. I'm gonna keep it brief. Like I'm not even I'm a proud black man, so I'm not like, once
right,
again, like when I kind of gave my preface, like, yo, I'm kind of particularly talking to like black Christians. Like if you don't profess to be a believer, then
right.
I'm not gonna have a standard or want to apply a rule to you that you don't, your life doesn't even adhere to, right? What I am saying though is like, yo, if we are Christians, um, and you're right, this does kind of rabbit hole into a lot of conversations,
It goes a
but
lot of different
yeah,
ways, and I ain't gonna do it to you tonight because
yeah,
it's
no, we
late.
got to
It's
pick this
getting
back
late
up
in the
because there are a
evening.
few things that I'm thinking about now that I'm like, all right, well, I can't say that in 30 seconds. But, essentially, it's like, yo, this is not to shade any black person that would feel a way towards, Terry or, his character Hulk Hogan. My only thing is like, yo, if you are a believer and you believe that you are a sinner that received grace that was unmerited, and that your sin was the 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 wall of partition between you and God, irrespective of what your sin was, but that your sin was the thing that separated you from God and then condemned you to an eternity in hell. But God, by his grace and through, the gift of faith, you believe in him, your sin has been nailed to the cross, you are forgiven. We cannot pick and choose how we apply the applicability of grace. And then when I
Hmm.
said that is if he even turned from his sin. But I think that it is good hearted to be hopeful that everyone would turn from their sin, regardless of what the sin is. Even if the sin is personally offensive to me as a black man. Now, in the moment you call me the N word, you gonna have to deal with the consequences of your sin in that moment. But that doesn't negate that I hope that you turn from that. I'm gonna give you the last word because I got 1% and I think my iPad about to die. Go for it.
Hey man, look, we're all sinners saved by grace. We all hope that we come to repentant faith in God. Uh, but sometimes no response is better than any response.
True indeed. True indeed. That's it.
Yeah, man, let's go ahead and do it. Well, you at 1%. Let's go ahead and
All
get off
right.
before we get kicked off.
Everyday Preachers, we coming at you live every Sunday, 7 p.m. If you like what you heard, share the stream, like, comment, share. Let's get the views up on this. These are conversations that the world needs to hear. All right, Everyday Preachers, we out of here. Go follow Better Bird, not the old bird page, but the
That
Better
old
Bird
page.
page on IG. Go follow me on Twitter. I say some interesting
Better.
things on there. Man, until next Sunday, 7 p.m., we out of here, man. Peace.